Hello and welcome back to Collegian Unfiltered. Today I'm joined by the Dean of the Belisario College of Communications, Marie Hardin. Dean Hardin, thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
How have the past couple months been going for you? I know we've all been in quarantine, staying home.
Yeah, getting used to working at home has been a challenge, but I've made the best of it. I think what I've missed the most, honestly, is the face-to-face regular hallway interaction with faculty and having students come into my office and just sit across the table and talk. Zoom is, takes you only so far, right? But at least we do have video interaction, which is it's better than nothing. But I look forward to being back in the face-to-face environment for sure.
So I'm sure that's the number one question on everyone's mind at the moment is, when are we going to return to campus? Looking forward to the fall semester. What can you tell us about this time, about, any possible course of actions regarding the College of Comm specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you're right. That's the question on everybody's mind. What's going to happen in the fall? I know that there are multiple really good task forces on the university campus working on this. President Barron has promised all of us the verdict by June 15th. For the college, for us, it's thinking about some of the special courses that we teach that really involve student production, that involve, students producing media, and how can we do that under these really unusual circumstances. So whether it's if students are back on campus, thinking about how we teach those classes while we're social distancing, and also keeping our students safe. If we're in a remote learning environment, how do you teach students remotely these sort of very hands-on skills? But I will say this, it is amazing how resilient and how creative our students are.
So before we met, I did a quick look through your LinkedIn profile. I saw that you graduated from UGA, University of Georgia, and taught at two other places before coming to Penn State in 2003. And you taught down in the South, in Georgia and Florida. So what were some of the factors that led you, to make the decision to come up north to come to Penn State?
Yeah, that's a great question because, as you saw, I had always lived in the South until I came to Penn State in 2003. People tell me I still have a little bit of the Southern accent. I can tell you, here's what drew me to Penn State. Number one, its phenomenal reputation, but also at the time that I agreed to come to Penn State, we were building the John Curley Center for Sports Journalism, and that really aligned with my research interests and my teaching interests. And I was also heavily involved in developing and leading some copy editing workshops for students, and the college was also involved in that. So the timing was just perfect, and Penn State's stellar reputation was really what sort of iced the cake for me. Now, I have to tell you that moving from the deep South, where you have one coat, right? Maybe you have a pair of gloves, to Penn State, that was a little daunting, but I had a friend who said, you're going to be fine as long as you just make sure you have the right gear. So I went out, and in the South, they put that stuff on sale pretty quickly. So I can remember before I moved, I went and bought gloves and hats and scarves and a couple of coats on sale, and was able, obviously, to get plenty of use out of them after I moved to State College.
Before I came up to Penn State, I live in North Carolina. I remember we couldn't find any winter clothes. We actually had to go up to Pennsylvania and buy a winter jacket. I still don't own any boots for the snow, so I was really unprepared. But it's definitely a transition going from the south to the north,
Yeah,
in
you
many
know what it's
ways.
like.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. For me, when I moved up to Penn State, there were some things in the South I really missed. Like I love sweet tea.
hmm
And of course, that's a Georgia thing. When you order tea, it's going to come to your table sweet. And when I got to Pennsylvania and I ordered tea for the first time, iced tea, and I took a sip, and I was like, where's the sugar, right? You may have things that when you got up to Penn State, you missed about the South, but sweet tea was one of them for me.
I would say sweet tea is at the top of my list too. My parents brought me Bojangles sweet tea.
Very
Over break one
nice.
time.
That's great.
So going back a little before Penn State, you taught at the University of West Georgia. Something interesting that I saw was you helped advise a student newspaper there. Obviously, being a part of the Daily Collegian, I found that really interesting. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit of what that experience was like.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about that. The reason I got into higher education in the first place was because I was a working journalist right out of college. And I started thinking about what did I really want to do more than anything? And you know what it was? It was to advise a college student newspaper. I love collegiate newspapers. I love what happens in college newsrooms, right? Newspaper might not be the right term anymore, right? But what happens in college newsrooms. So when I got the job at the University of West Georgia, I was so excited because they let me advise that student newspaper. It was just a once a week paper. We took it to twice a week while I was there. It won lots of awards. It was so much fun to do that. Obviously, when I came to Penn State as a faculty member, the system at Penn State is very different. And I think really exciting, the Daily Collegian is independent. It has its own staff. When I got to Penn State, I guess I became a super fan, right, of the Collegian. I'm really excited about just supporting the Collegian in my role now.
So something exciting for the entire college communications is the construction of the new Belisarium Media Center in the Willard Building. When do you expect the new media center to be opened by?
Yeah, as you know, the coronavirus situation has slowed that down. We were hoping to open in the fall. It's a realistic, how can I put this? We're optimistically real. We have an optimistic and realistic hope that it will open in January. We think that that's possible. The construction crew is back on site. They're having to move obviously a little bit more slowly because of social distancing, but we're hoping that we can get in there in the spring. The chances are very good that we won't necessarily be able to have classes in there in the spring. Again, we're hopeful that we can, but it's probably more realistic that we would get to start moving in the spring. So what does that mean for the Daily Collegian? Hopefully the Daily Collegian will get to start moving in there in the spring. So I'm very excited about the Collegian being right alongside the college inside that building.
So finally, looking forward to the future of College of Com. When that day that we all return back to campus, what are you most excited about?
Oh boy. I am so excited about just spending time in the Carnegie Building, walking across the street to the Willard Building as that gets finished up and as we are able to move into the Willard Building, and crossing paths with students and talking with students. I mean, that's honestly, I took that for granted. I won't be taking that for granted anymore. Just the idea of walking out of Carnegie and I see you and I say hello and find out how you're doing. And maybe you tell me about a story or a video you've been working on. And maybe it's just a 5-minute conversation, but that's such an important part of my day. And boy, am I looking forward to that again.
I'm sure every student out there is also looking forward, seeing each other face to face. So we are going to transition now into our rapid fire question round. If you don't know how it works, basically I'm just going to ask a series of this or that questions, and Dean Hardin's going to give me her answers. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So our first question is grilled stickies or creamery ice cream?
Creamery ice cream. Easy.
Easy. Next question. Being from the South, you might not have a strong preference, but Sheets or Wawa?
Sheets.
Fictional Penn State alumni, Dwight Schrute or Bruce Banner?
Ooh. That's a great question. Okay, Dwight.
Does that mean you like The Office more than Marvel?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Favorite Beaver Stadium snack or food? Chicken basket or pizza cone?
Pizza, pizza. Yep.
Ooh, that's our first pizza cone answer. Um, and our last question: better place to take a photo at, the We Are statue or the Lion Shrine?
Lion Shrine.
Well, that's going to do it for today on Collegian Unfiltered. If you want to hear more from Dean Hardin, make sure to check out our Dean Check-In series where we recently interviewed her. That's at collegian.psu.edu. You can also follow the Daily Collegian on all our social media platforms down below. Dean Hardin, once again, thank you for coming on. It was great to get a chance to talk with you. Looking forward to when we can do it in person one day.
Keep doing your good work, all right?
Thank you.
We are.